Hello and welcome to the Franchise Tag Podcast with me, your host, Freddie Hall, for another episode of the Friends of the F Tag. And, you've got to know his face by now. We've got Andre Dixon, CEO of Verge magazine, co-founder of Alternative Sport, one of the key guys, I think, anywhere in the UK at the moment, that's really driving the UK NFL scene forward. I mean, every time I look on your Instagram, Dre, you're a busy guy. You do so many different sports. But NFL seems to be one that is always on the timeline. And it just feels like as that sport's growing over here, you're one of the guys that is really pushing that forward, man.
Oh, thank you guys. Honestly, thank you for having me. It's a crazy time because obviously there's so many different sports that are going on. You know what it's like. You have to pretend that you're into all of these sports like tennis and then rugby and then all these other things. But true to my heart, my heart is actually a suffering Giants fan, New York Giants fan. But I am like counting the days down to the season starting, definitely.
Yes, this large gap in between sort of April, where the end of the draft through now towards the preseason is just feeling like forever. But we're bringing you friends of the F Tag podcast for the whole summer, and lots more content to come from all of our guys over here throughout the summer to try and keep your NFL interest going and spark it alive and create some atmosphere before the season even begins. But like you said, we might as well. It's a good place to start being a Giants fan. I mean, our Giants co-host Andrew isn't with us tonight. I'm sure he's going to be very interested in some of your opinions about the New York Giants. I've heard some very interesting opinions about New York Giants in a few of these podcasts, which I'll probably share with you later on when we chat about stuff. But firstly, I mean, we go back to April. We look at the draft. You guys had 2 first-round picks in that top 10. You had the Chicago's Bear pick from the year before. And you go and draft Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal, that edge rush threat and that offensive tackle spot as well. Kayvon Thibodeau and Evan Neal were predicted to be the number 1 pick in January, into February, into March. Then slowly, at the end of March, slowly started wearing off, and then Aiden Hutchinson was coming into the forefront. And then about a week before Trayvon Walker became in the forefront, and suddenly Trayvon Walker was the number 1 pick, and it was like, oh, wow. And then players drop, and you guys in your lap get what was seen as 2 number 1 players just drop there. So how ecstatic were you when the Giants made them picks?
I mean, it proves why Giants shouldn't listen to the hierarchy, shouldn't be listening to people like me who, for some reason, because it's not that I'm knocking Daniel Jones, and I try not to be personal with any athletes because they're humans after all. However, I don't have much faith in that he's going to be able to recover in time, and then obviously from what I've seen, I haven't been really impressed with. So I was hoping, kind of secretly, for a quarterback as well, but what they've done is they've actually made the necessary picks for us to be able to move forward. It is a long process. It's not going to be something that's overnight. We're going to be contenders. We have got a lot of weaponry that I would say that we could make a little noise, and it wasn't too far off that we was almost going to be making the playoffs season before last. But I am very, very happy, as all Giants fans are happy with what we've seen so far. Take away the unnecessary, distractions with the lawsuits and all those types of things. But like everything else that we've had is been really good, very stable for once. It's been good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been a while, isn't it, since the Giants have actually. It feels like there's a plan. That's something that I've noticed with the Giants. It does really feel like there's a plan and that they can move forward, and that's going to be something that's going to be good. Just quickly, you were saying that you were sort of thinking maybe a quarterback, or that you might like a quarterback. I mean, was there any particular one in the draft? Because it was kind of like a year where everyone was kind of having a bit of a go at the quarterbacks.
Kenny Smallhands. That's what you wanted.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that Joey, as I call him, Joey Burr, he's actually shown you don't have to have the big hands. I totally forgotten because I've, as we said earlier on, I'm juggling so many different sports. I literally totally forgot his name, but he went. I forgot his name. He is a QB. I don't know. I'll remember. It will come back to me in a minute. But there's one QB in particular that I was actually looking at. I think he was a good leader. I think he was a good example. He's talking all the good talk. He was quite impressive for his college. But the thing is that again, it's like we say we have a plan, but I don't see the QB plan. I don't see are you really throwing all the chips in? Well, I mean, you're not throwing the chips in with Daniel Jones because you didn't you didn't take his option. So that's the only bit that I have a question, and it's such an important part of the whole game. Moving forward, having an actual franchise quarterback or somebody we can actually trust and say, okay, this guy's going to be the one to be able to lead us forward. I just don't see it. So that's why I was looking for the quarterback. I've forgotten his name.
I reckon you're talking about Malik Willis.
That's the one, Malik Willis.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, he was like, I forget about all the other stuff like where he's like talking a good talk and just saying everything that you kind of want your quarterback to be able to say, because Daniel Jones says those types of things as well. But Malik Willis is like, he's got an arm on him. I think I just didn't understand from what I saw with the clips that I saw, why there was so much doubt about him. I mean, he went kind of low down, like he went in the next day, in round 2. So I just didn't understand. But again, this is why I'm sitting where I am, and the higher ups are where they are. But yeah, I desperately want us to be able to be moving forward with a quarterback. I think I have quarterback envy whenever I see, as I said, like Joe Burrows and all the other quarterbacks that are hot at the moment. But yeah, hey, look, we can't complain. There is an actual plan, as you said, Adam. It seems like there's a structure in place. It seems like, okay, year 1 we're going to be doing this. I think they're giving an opportunity to Daniel Jones so he can actually, kind of prove them wrong, because I think they're checked out on him. But there's no other options. So therefore, I'm thinking they're looking at someone else in next year's draft, or they're going to be using pieces to be able to get a free agent. I'm hoping.
Do you not think there's like any potential for Jones at all? Because obviously, like with the O-line improvement, the offense, it all struggled because of the O-line. That was the big issue that it
that's been an issue for a long time.
And so you just kind of think like, if he's gonna have a chance to do anything, this is the year. This is his chance to do something. He's got a much better O-line there. Saquon's fit, hopefully. There's some good wide receivers there. They just didn't get the ball because the O-line just crumbled. Do you not think that there's any potential for him?
No, it's not that he's terrible, because obviously he we were looking at the fact that obviously I'm an Eli fan. He was more mobile. We never had a mobile quarterback before. But if you're looking at people who can actually do both, or even if you're looking at someone who just stays in the pocket and just doesn't move, and I mean, if I could have any quarterback, it would be Justin Herbert. Because I think that he is exactly what you would want from a stereotypical, stay in the pocket quarterback. But the guy can move as well. He can get himself out of trouble. He doesn't hang on to the ball that much. I think Daniel Jones, I think they did a survey or some type of research, and he hung on to the ball longer than any quarterback in the NFL. And that's obviously, hanging on to the ball equals sacks. And he's losing the ball so much. There's so many turnovers because of he's hanging on to the ball and then getting hit so many times. And then you're getting hit. And then look what you now, like, you're having neck surgery. Like, this is not a small deal. Like, if it was your arm, I'm praying to God that we don't get Baker Mayfield or something like that, because I just really do not want that. But like, these guys who hang on to the ball for too long, they end up getting injured. Bottom line, and that's what he does. He doesn't know how to release the ball quickly, and that is the fundamental problem for him. So he could be a very good backup, but not as your franchise quarterback.
You look around the league now, don't you? And there's just so many teams with sort of that upper echelon quarterback now. I think there's more teams with a great quarterback than the ones with bad quarterbacks in a way. No matter, I know the age, there's age difference. Matt Stafford obviously a lot older, Tom Brady obviously a lot older in their career, not going to be around forever. But the hit rate of quarterbacks coming out of college now is just been so good, really, in the last few years. And not even high picks. Pat Mahomes. I know Justin Herbert's high pick, obviously Joe Burrow is the #1 pick, but there is just so much talent there that I feel like with the Giants fans, they look at it and go, well, we took him with such a high pick, and look at all the quarterbacks that were in that draft and have come out in that sort of same time frame, and we've got Daniel Jones when these other teams have got like Kyler. I know Kyler was the #1 pick that year, but Kyler, Justin Herbert, Joe Burrow. I mean, even Tua, arguably. Like there's that. That's what I think that sort of and gets on the Giants fans base nerves, is that when it's such a good hit rate, how come we didn't hit in a way? But I think you're right in the sense that Daniel Jones this year has got that sort of prove it deal, hasn't he? Because they've said they're not going to pick up your 5th year. They've got the new establishment in, which I'm going to ask you about in a second. And it's a bit like, well, if he proves it and he's amazing, then bully, Brian Daboll's got a quarterback then for, a good few years. He's going to have to pay him some good money, but it's not going to be nowhere near as much money as maybe some of the other quarterbacks in the market are. But if he's rubbish, well, we've got a decent squad around us. We get a high pick, and there's 2 absolutely sensational quarterbacks coming out in next year's draft that we could go and target. So do you think that is maybe a bit of a rumble in the Giants fan base because of that?
Yeah, I bottom line, I mean, we've got two words to be able to, put the blame on all of that stuff, and it's Dave Gettleman. Like, at the end of the day, that guy, as I used to call him, Fuzzy Bear on the show, he was trying to tell jokes, terrible ones at that. Like, just had no plan. Like, I just cannot see the logic in what on the picks he made. I cannot see the logic in some of the contracts he's given out as well. So, again, it's like us having to be patient and be a rebuild. Like, if you are from a Premier League point of view, like a Liverpool fan, like I am, then you can actually, you've seen it before. Where, if I can kind of liken it to that, where you've got a new head coach come in, who's one of the hottest names, that is. In the game, came in, and actually there's a new hot GM who's come in, so we've had that as well. And then you actually just build the team season by season by season. And it took Klopp probably like 2-3 years before we actually had something that was recognizable to him and the style of play. And I think that it's going to take a little while with these guys, because Gettleman has made so many bad decisions over the years. It's going to take a little while for the ghost of him to be able to be gone for good. But there is optimism, but there's a lot of realism. So, like, as I said, we're looking at being one of the teams as fans. I'm not sure who you guys support, but if you the whole point. You're the whole. I couldn't see it.
Can't see it.
Oh, good. Is it? It's not. I was the. Oh no.
There.
Was
there
this?
you go.
Oh, green. Oh yeah. Okay.
Big Green Bay.
That'll be one game we're going to win in London, that's for sure. But yeah, I mean, you've got the same type of thing, like, where you're like, what is the plan? Like, what is where are we going in the future? I think that what we have is a solid base and a solid plan. So therefore, we can actually say, okay, well, as you said, Freddie, there's 2 hot pick. I've heard this. I don't know much about these college guys, because there's only so much sports that I can actually have in my brain. But if we've got 2 college prospects coming in the future, then that's cool. But what about now? Are we tanking? Like, what is now? Because you can't put Daniel Jones back out there. That's my point. There's a bit of a disconnect. But if we're tanking unofficially, then we're tanking. That's fine. I just have to accept it. But that's a whole another year of me having to listen to Hannah and Sam and people like that on the show ragging on me. So I just have to kind of just accept that and just find a bandwagon team, Chargers, to be able to kind of root for.
Solid bandwagon team. Everyone's Chargers is such the bandwagon team. Everyone loves they're like the Everton of 5 years ago. Everyone loves to look at them. And now it's become Leicester. Leicester are now like that Premiership team. But the Chargers are definitely that way. We'll move off from Giants in a moment. However, I would like to just
thank you.
We had this is hopefully going to be a positive. We had Sam Farley on last week, NFL journalist, journalist in general as well, really great guy. And he's a big fantasy football player. And we said, what player do you think next year is going to be really, going to be at the top of the pile, who you could probably stash away and get for quite cheap? And he went full blown in Saquon Barkley. He was like, Saquon Barkley this year, he was quite saying it's going to be a top 5 running back next year. do you think Saquon is going to do that sort of bounce back? Because we know what sort of play he could be. He has been phenomenal in recent history. Really, it's only been a very short career, but then in the last few years he's had injury problems. He's put a post out the other day on Instagram. He's looking. I mean, they're all looking bloody trim. They don't ever have an off day, do they? These NFL players, but he's looking. He's looking real good. Real trim and really ready to go. Are you hoping that this can be the bounce back for him?
I mean, you got to judge it on the offensive line. Like the offensive line says no. So I don't really see how that can actually be. And I think we've moved into more of a dual threat. I don't think you can. I think personally, this is just me. I think that the days of one back that takes every down is gone. I just don't see how you have longevity doing that. So I think that you've got to look at, I mean, my tip. I haven't won our trophy as yet, as Sam would keep on reminding me. But I would say you're gonna have to look at it's probably like the Vikings, like with Cook and is it Mattison? They have you're gonna have, if you're talking about fantasy football, you're probably gonna be looking at those two, because obviously you just have to choose the actual backup who's decent. So I made moves, almost made the finals. With that, but I wouldn't say I wouldn't go with Saquon Barkley. I think that you can get him quite quickly or further down in the draft, but I don't see with the offensive line that we've got if he's going to be making any moves. If you look at the start of last season, against the Bucks, that kind of showed you where we are. Like they surrounded him. They made sure that he didn't go anywhere, and he was doing all types of tricks and trying to jump over people and twists and turns and everything he possibly can do, and he was going nowhere. So I can't see that if we haven't got a decent offensive line, if the Cowboys have got a better offensive line than us, and they can't get any movement from their back, so we stand no chance whatsoever.
Yeah, I think top 5 is quite a spicy.
I did a smile where I sort of went smiling like you need to be composed, and then just went, no, I'm just going to laugh at this, because that is a real bold, bold statement. Like I could name 5 guys off the top of my head who I think will have better yards next year than Zeke, but Sam might know something we don't by the end of next year.
I think he's decent, isn't he? I think he'll be better. I mean, you've got to be sort of optimistic about him being better this year than what he was last year. Yeah.
Well, we could all live in hope.
It's sharing the load, and that's the point thing, is that you can't have an every down back all the time. Like everyone who was in the if you look at the 49ers, who bar them not turning up in the game against the Rams, I think that my bet was for them to be able to win the whole thing. I don't know what they're doing now with this whole contract situation, but I think that even if you look at them, they've got 2 decent backs, even though one's a wide receiver. You're looking at 2 decent stellar backs who actually can share the load. I don't think you can have just one. So that would be my suggestion. A person who has never won their championship. So, take mine with a pinch of salt, but I would personally go down the route of either just going with 2 different backs from the same team, or listen to Kay Adams and going whatever she suggests.
Well, as a Steeler fan, I'm going to have to wait a little bit longer to see my team over in London. But you guys, both of you, have got the pleasure this year of your teams facing each other. Unfortunately, Dre, we are going to be not attending the first game, as our co-host Andrew is getting married on the first weekend. So we will be attending the wedding, however, secretly phoned.
How selfish of him.
Yeah,
we've told him so many times. We've told him so many times.
How selfish.
But
no.
He's been to every London game, is that right?
He's missed one, I believe. But it was I reckon he missed one 8 years ago.
And yet he chose to get married on a Sunday in October.
Of all the times, like, you could have chose in August. Well, I hope it's abroad.
No, it's in Oxfordshire, so it won't be abroad. But we've got Stag Do. We've got Stag Do to sort of right any wrongs that have been done upon us.
100%.
But of course, London games are all coming up, which we're all very excited about. Obviously, the Saints and the Vikings in that first game at Tottenham. Then you've got you guys, the Giants against the Packers at Tottenham. We have the Jags v the Broncos in Wembley as well, which should be a fantastic game. We've got the introduction of the Munich game this year, also the game in Mexico as well. With 3 games this year, Dre. I mean, we've had more games, we've had less games. We've had bigger games, we've had smaller games. I felt like me and Adam said after the game last year when we met, it has a feeling last year of not really hitting the mark on the standard that we'd want. And that was a bit of a feeling amongst most of the NFL fans there, we thought. However, this year, it feels like the games have sort of stepped up. Yes, it's been helped by the inclusion of like Russell Wilson going to Denver. It would, it'd be nice if Devontae Adams had stuck around in Green Bay. Obviously not for you guys. You must be really happy about that. But we were going to have some studs coming over here, weren't we? Do you like the progression of what's happening with the NFL UK games? Do you think that, how has your experience been with Tottenham? It feels to me like a fantastic stadium, and when I've been there, I've really enjoyed it. How do you think moving forward the game can get bigger with the inclusion of the games?
I mean, so you thinking that we had like kind of duddish games before? Or?
I thought last year was lackluster. Was really lackluster.
Yeah.
I thought, and that's no offense to the teams that came over. No. All fans want to see their teams. I understand that, but you can't give it. It almost feels like America. We want to keep all our games, and we'll just give them, the games we're not that bothered about. And it's like, no, hang on a minute. We've got a fan base here. Obviously, it is a lot smaller than the American fan base, but we're a fan base that is growing this worldwide. So, yeah.
I said last year, I think it was a test. I'm convinced it was a test after COVID to make sure that the market was still there, to make sure that we would still sell out the ground and stuff like that. And they weren't great games, and they weren't great like teams, were they? I mean, it was it was the what was it? I think it was almost like the first pick and the third pick in the draft, and then the second and the sixth or something like that. So it was pretty poor, but it was. I think it was them just testing to see whether or not the market was still there for it.
Yeah, I think you could be right. I didn't think of it at that time because I was just so happy in that time that we were having teams coming back. It felt like life was back to normal. The stadiums were rammed, the atmosphere was great outside, and obviously we're privileged to be able to go and see like some of the training, and it's a little bit different than it was before because obviously you can't just run on and speak to the players as you normally would. But in the press conferences you kind of get a longer press conference, so you get to speak to the players a little bit more. That's the first time I've actually kind of looked at it in that way, where we had like, I mean, the games weren't that great, but I mean, except for the Hawks always finding a way to be able to, try to lose a game at any point, trying to make things as much as interesting as possible. Didn't really enjoy the Jags game at all, to be honest with you. But yeah, I mean, this is the first time out of all the times that we've had the history of the London games, we've had actually serious teams, and obviously the Packers and Giants. Obviously, I'm a slightly biased, but like even having just the Packers, you got a Hall of Fame quarterback coming over. But do remember we had Brady over, we had the Patriots over in Wembley. I think the stadium, because obviously the NFL invested in it more because obviously they've got the stadium, they're paying for half the stadium almost. I think it works out to be, and the viewing. I don't know if you guys went to the games last year in person, but you actually got a better view rather than in Wembley. You feel like you're a bit further away from everything. Where this one here, you feel like you're in the stadium. The atmosphere is great. That national anthem was I think better than the Super Bowl one. To be honest with you, but yeah, I think that they definitely stepped up. I think that there's more of an. I think they're recognizing that there's more of an appetite with not only obviously fans from the UK but Germany as well, which is massive for them to be able to have their game. So it is an exciting time. I was so grateful for what we had, that we had some games back, that we would be able to come back and be able to see these teams, have all the other stuff around it. That it's probably clouded my judgment, but I think they get a pass from me for 2021.
Yeah, I reckon. Are you going to be able to go to the Munich games? Are you going to be over there for them?
If anyone's listening to this, yes,
You
all
joke? If
are
anyone's
available.
listening to this, we will be available.
Yeah, we have to fight this one out. No, yeah, I mean, fingers crossed that we all get to go. But yeah, I'll be expecting to be able to go over there. I think it's something that I want to experience. One, I've never been to Munich Stadium at all, even for football, for Premier League football, or normal soccer, as Americans will call it. But yeah, I think that atmosphere, the first time it's ever been there, it's around Oktoberfest, I believe.
Yeah, just after, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, regardless, we're going to be drinking beer and enjoying everything around there. So it'll be a festival, atmosphere. So yeah, I fingers crossed, NFL or anyone else that we partner with is going to take us out there. All of us out there. Let's put that in the air.
Yeah, it'll be definitely something to look forward to. And do you think moving forward that there may be more games that they'll bring over here, or this is what I'm quite interested to hear from people who come on. What do you subscribe to? It sounds really bad, but there's a lot of people here in the UK who want a team. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
And there's a lot of people here that think they want more, that would like more games, and everyone's sort of wondering what the future will be, and people have their own thoughts on it and what they think's better and stuff like that. What do you honestly think will be the growth for the NFL here? Do you think it could be one day a team over here, or do you think it is just an expansion of games here, or do you think this is sort of as good as we're going to get it? Because the move to Munich, to me, feels like the next step will be maybe Asia or Australia. Personally, I think that's where it'll grow. I don't think it's going to grow so much here, so to speak, in the amount of games.
Well, we've got 4 games here at the moment.
Three games.
Three games.
Yeah.
Germany's taken one of our games. So I just can't see the reason why they would actually have any more games, over here. I don't think there's the appetite from the fans over there, because remember, obviously one of them are losing a home game. You just seeing, the Jags get beaten up on. I just think sometimes it's better to have 3 or 4 games. If we can go back to having 4 games over here, I think that from what I can see, I don't know anything about this, no intel, but it just looked like the appetite, or they've recognized how big a fan base they have in Germany. Because like every other person I was speaking to was German when we had the games over here. So I think that maybe that's the move, to kind of spread it between us and them. I don't think Asia's interested in that. Asia's very much basketball, baseball. So I just think it's going to be spread between us, Germany, and maybe Spain. Those are the countries that I would say outside of the States are the most interested in. Yeah, I don't even know if Mexico is really interested in it that much as we are definitely. I would like us to be able to have 4 games though, so it should be like 2 at Wembley, 2 at Tottenham. I think that for me that would be more than enough. I think that us having a team over here, I can't see that it would keep that interest, having 8 games over here with a team that's going to lose all the time.
Little is more in a way.
Yeah, I think it's just nice to be able to have. And then also, remember, I would always say to fans, like, if you haven't been to a game in the US, go there, because the atmosphere is completely different. Here's a carnival atmosphere. People wear, obviously, as you know, every different team under the sun. So it's not really a true reflection of what it's like to be able to be going there at Green Bay, or if you're lucky enough to be able to go there, or going to the Dolphins or something like that, where they're home fans, it's their home territory. They've got their anthems, they've got their traditions, all those types of things. I think it's better for us to be able to have our celebration here in Germany, and then obviously make sure that we get to go to the States if possible. But you should do that if you really love the game. You should actually go and watch, at least again. I'm desperate to go to Raiders. I'm desperate to go to Rams stadiums, because they just look magnificent. I definitely want to know what it's like in playoff times, with the Giants, not just watch it in my front room. Like those types of stuff. I think that we want. Obviously, I'll be waiting for a long time, but
I was going to say. I knew someone was going to say something. I knew it wasn't going to be me.
like you're damn right. You're going to be waiting. I'm just so used to the ragging on our other show.
One day you'll get back there. Don't worry. We believe in you.
Don't worry. You're on snakes and ladders all the way down.
Oh yeah, I know. Don't worry.
Adam's just nervous. He knows Jordan Love's time is coming. Very creepy.
That's coming. They've put too much in. I feel sorry for that guy because they put so much in, like pressure on his back, and then when he came in, he just did not do it at all. It's just I don't know, Adam, what you feel about Aaron Rodgers, because he's my favorite quarterback, but definitely a bit of shying away from him last time. Sorry, I'm asking a question. I'm taking over the show.
Yeah, he's taking over the show.
Like, what's going on here?
He's going to Munich. We're being left behind. It's okay. It's no problem.
Yeah, I must admit, I think for a lot of Packers fans at the time when it happened, and there was lots of, is he gonna sign? Is he not gonna sign? And then all of that going on, I think it did put a bit of a dampener on everything. Now he's very much, I'm going to stay here until retirement, and we're all kind of on retirement watch now. So it is literally a matter of time before he goes. Everyone goes on about the Jordan Love pick, about how it was such a bad thing. You look at the stats, Rodgers was declining. It's like he was, and then Jordan Love came in and he just gave him the rocket that he needed to sort of push on again. So I get why the Packers did what they did. Unfortunately, I think Love is just the unfortunate person in this whole situation, and he's just not going to get anywhere. He doesn't sound like he's good enough now. From what you hear of him in training, it's very much like sometimes he will put a run together of 5-6 passes and he'll look good. And then he'll do something that is awful, and you just sort of think, well, it doesn't sound like he's got it. So unfortunately, I don't think he's going to be around much. He might do a year or two when Rodgers retires, but I think that's probably going to be it unless something happens.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
I just keep thinking about watching the NFL in the new camp.
And that's what I'm saying.
You think Wembley high in the air? Jeez Louise, new camp. It's so high. It's crazy.
You're going to be at a different altitude up there. But I think that if you look at teams like Madrid, like they've just redone their stadium, they've got a top two. So I just got a feeling that there's going to be. They want this game all over Europe, and they don't want to battle with NBA. Regarding the Asian market, I think they may have a game out there, but it's so heavily NBA, so heavily baseball. I just don't see how it's going to grow there. So therefore, I think they're kind of concentrating on their actual fan base that is big in, as I said, like here, Germany, and then definitely Spain. They have a big appetite for NFL. So, I would definitely say that's going to be the focus over there. Hopefully, that means that the Giants start getting some fans. So we can actually, do something soon, sooner rather than later. But as far as Jordan Love, I feel very sorry for him because I think that he's got the raw end of the stick. It's he's a kid. It's like he didn't ask to be chosen. And I don't think it was ever the design for him to be able to come in and start instead of Rodgers, but I think that it's because at that point you just needed one extra wide receiver, for him to use. But that being said, is that when it came to the game against the 49ers, he had other options, and he was only ever throwing to Devontae Adams.
Yeah, which is why I think that the offense will be a lot more balanced this year. I think when you look at it, everyone knew where it was going. So it's like because of that problem, that was the reason. That's where it all went wrong. It wasn't the defense. The defense did well. They only
had a good defense.
13 points is nothing. But so they did really well. And they look really good for this year again. I think they'll do really well. But yeah, it's tough when you've you know, when you're constantly throwing it to the same guy over and over again, they're going to work it out. I mean, I could work it out, so I'm sure they can work it out.
I mean, majority of the time, but majority of the time it actually works. Like, to be honest with you, like they had that such a good connection that it didn't really affect them, because obviously you knew what was going to happen. Can you stop it? But the problem is that just moving forward is that obviously you've lost a couple of people. So it's like, who you're in a similar position to us, is like we don't have. Well, we haven't got a quarterback as well, so we're lower than you. Yeah, I'll stop there, Freddie, because I'll just make more of a fool of myself, and you'll get all those comments.
Well, Andre, I really appreciate you coming on, my man, and thank you for joining us. It's been a real blast, and you can catch all Dre's stuff online as well. Verge magazine does loads of great stuff, as well as alternative sports guys. We really look forward to hopefully seeing you, meeting you at the London Games, if not sooner. Plenty of stuff going on. It's the year 2045. Brady's come out of retirement for the third time. He's in the Camp Nou against Jordan Love. It's going to be a day to remember. I tell you, it'll be that sort of October. It's still warm but cold breeze coming across from the ocean. Oh, what a time to be alive that's going to be. Until then, though, thank you for joining us. Thank you for watching the Friends of the F Tag. We'll still be releasing stuff throughout the summer. Like and share this podcast on YouTube and on our social media. Have a good rest of your week. We'll see you all.